Hi everyone, it's Trishna. Happy Saturday. So today I want to talk to you about the shortcut to life. One of the key success tips to manifesting whatever it is that you want in your life. So the shortcut to life is go for the deepest inner journey and go for the opportunities that are going to help grow you the most. Because in the game of life, the number one rule is whoever grows the most wins. Now, why is that? So, whenever we are in a place where there's something else that we want more money, we want to find more stable love, we want to find the long-term partner, we want to get that dream job so that, maybe we have the right income coming in, but we would like to be doing something that we enjoy more. Maybe it's not coming from a job that we actually enjoy. Maybe we want better relationships with our family. Maybe we want to have a child. Whenever there's something that we want, that means that we're in one place and our desire is in another place. Because if that desire was here with us, we wouldn't want it. It'd be here a part of us. So whenever we want something, we see it as separate from us. We see it as we're here and our desire, our end result, what we really want is over there. And so what is in between where we are now and where we want to be? A gap. So anytime we have a desire, it opens up this gap that sits between where we are and where we want to be. And whenever we think about our desire and we feel sadness or we feel anxiety or we feel doubt or we feel some sense of low self-worth, that means that we are noticing the gap between where we are and where we want to be more than we are noticing what we want to be and believing that it's ours. So this gap is a very real thing. We don't see it in our mind's eye. We don't see like, oh, what I want is right there. But it exists and we feel it and it comes up in these feelings of anxiety or sadness or self-doubt. And so closing the gap is always that journey. And in order to close the gap between where we are and where we want to be, we have to make that internal journey first. We have to grow. We have to look deep within ourselves. And that is why the shortcut to life is really going deep within and really making that inner journey and growing in the best, deepest, most possible ways. And so in consulting, we talk a lot about, like when I used to work as a consultant, we used to talk a lot about the gap. So it's not just a spiritual concept, it's very much a real physical concept as well. Where whenever we would present our slides or create our slides to present to a client, we would talk about current state, where they are now, and future state, where they want to be. And then we would do a gap analysis, is what we called it, of what is in between, what is a journey that we need to take to close that gap, to bridge that gap so that you're no longer in the current state, you're in the future state, and the future state becomes your new current state. So this is a physical concept. It's something that we can understand physically, but it's also very much a spiritual concept as well. So give me a second here because I feel like I missed something that I wanted to share. Okay, so the other thing about growing and why it is so key to allowing you to really succeed in life to take those shortcuts is because when we do that inner growth work, it really it like it enhances our arsenal of tools that we have available to bring more success into our lives. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I know when I was younger, I lived in Canada and I was speaking French and then we moved to Texas. And my parents kept saying, you want to make sure that you keep up with your French. You don't want to lose your French. And I did end up losing my French. But they would always say, everything in your life that you can learn will pay off at some point in the future. And I have noticed that throughout my life, there have been opportunities where had I learned French or like kept up with it, I already knew French. Had I kept up with the French, it could have helped me in so many different ways. I started having colleagues in my working life that were from France, and it would have been really nice because sometimes they would talk to each other. It would have been really nice for me to connect with them and connect with clients that could speak French had I done that. So anything that comes upon your path, there's a chance to learn or a chance to grow. Try to make the time to do that because it is going to pay off later on and it enhances the arsenal of tools that you have available to be able to bring success in your life. Right now, I'm in a sales role. And prior to that, I worked in consulting, I worked in procurement, writing contracts, I did a little bit of sales, and I did a little bit of project management. And all of those skills combined are what are making me so successful in my job right now. I had this toolkit of all these different experiences where I really tried my best. I took the inner journey as well as the external journey. And that's why I'm thriving so well in my role, because it involves all of those. It involves me having review contracts before I send them out to my customers. It involves me selling to my customers. It involves me helping my customers solve some of their internal problems, and through that I'm able to sell more services that will help them with that. I'm also building so much trust with them that whenever I suggest something that they should buy, they're just like, okay, just write up what you want me to buy and I'll send you the PO, the purchase order for it. So I'm building a lot of trust with that. And then managing our teams internally, it's not my role, but I take on a project manager role where I'm working with the CTO of our company and helping him realign his business and improve his business so that we can offer a better service to our customers. So all of these toolkits are making me to really thrive in my job in terms of sales. And then also, I recently heard that the CTO told the head of sales that they need 10 more of Trishna's at the company in order to make it successful. So all these skills are really getting me noticed because I took the growth journey. And that's why it's so important. And when we talk about the growth journey, there are multiple levels of that. We talked about how there's the physical level of a growth journey, and then there's also the spiritual level of the growth journey. The spiritual level is the work that we do internally, and that is, in my opinion, the most important and definitely what you should always start with, because when you grow internally and make shifts and progressing internally first, that sets up the energy, that sets up all the potentials in the physical world to help support you on that journey and grow even further. So I want you guys to imagine for a moment that you're at the top of a mountain. And we talked a little bit about fog in the last video, so we're going to use a little bit of that. But you're at the top of this beautiful snow-capped mountain. You're at the peak, and you're looking across all of this landscape, and you notice that there is a cliff separate from this mountain, cliff just up ahead. And on that cliff is this beautiful castle, this beautiful, yeah, there's this beautiful castle. You feel good about it. You know you want to be there. That's where you want to visit, maybe even live. The energy of it is pulling you so strong. And the castle represents your desire, and you being on the mountain represents where you are. Now, the shortest path between you and this castle is for you to basically travel from the mountain all the way to the castle. Now, if you were to look down below you, in planning for your journey, you would notice, okay, so like I know that I want to make a straight shot to that castle, but when I look at the terrain below me, I see a lot of fog. I see very dense forest that I'm going to have to move through. I see a lot of terrain that's rocky and difficult. And, that's the path forward. So, on the physical sense, the path forward may look difficult, may look tumultuous, may look like it has all these obstacles in the way. But the spiritual journey that's going to take you through, the lesson that you're going to be taking out of this, or the lesson that you need to embody on this journey to the castle, is one of endurance, one of believing in yourself, one of strength, and one of courage. So if you don't do the internal work first, which is the shortcut to your desire and what's going to lead you through overcoming all those obstacles, if you don't do the internal journey first of, okay, what do I need to learn? What do I need to pack in my spiritual bag to get me from where I am to this castle? I'm going to need that endurance. I'm going to need that courage. I'm going to need that strength. I'm going to need that belief in myself. And when you embody those, traveling through that terrain is going to become significantly easier. You're going to see an obstacle and know you can overcome it and believe in yourself. And you're also going to notice that you'll start picking up on paths that lead you around obstacles, paths that are easier to go, because walking through a forest between a mountain and a castle, there's going to be different avenues that you can take, and you're going to naturally be drawn to the ones that are easier, the ones that allow you to get to the end desire significantly faster. Now, if you didn't do that internal work first, and you started to hit some of these obstacles, it might take you months before you travel just a little bit of terrain to actually get to the castle, because you'll hit the first obstacle and be like, oh, I can't do this. I don't believe in myself. I'm not strong enough. It's getting dark. I'm too scared. You're not going to have the courage. You're not going to have the strength. You're not going to have the endurance to be able to speed through it. You're going to stop at every roadblock. and be like, I can't do this. And then maybe wait there for a month before you're just like, well, I guess I should move forward because I still want it. And then you move forward a little bit, hit the next obstacle, and wait a month. Versus just packing those tools in your spiritual bag, and just when you hit an obstacle, maybe you have a little bit of doubt, maybe a little bit of resistance, but I can do this, and you keep going. And instead of it taking many months, it can take you just a day or a couple days to get you between this mountain and this castle to your desire. So it's really important that you do the inner growth work first. And let's see. Okay, so I'm right where I want to be. Okay, so now we understand that to get from where we are to where we want to be, we have to do that internal journey. We have to close that gap. And what that looks like on a spiritual sense is understanding the lessons that you need to learn to get to where you want to be. And also managing those emotions, right? You notice when you're feeling sadness and anxiety, you're noticing that gap. And so it's really about honoring those emotions and releasing those emotions because those emotions are in the gap. So once you release them, that gap starts to close and you end up at the castle where you want to be. So think about a desire that you have. What gap are you trying to close at this point in time? And if you want to share, please share in the comments below and I will respond. I'm always curious to know what everybody is working on in their lives. So what gap are you trying to close? What manifestation are you trying to bring into your life? Okay, so first take note of that. It could be one, it could be a few different things that you want to bring into your life. The next step is, okay, ask yourself, what do you need to learn? What lessons do you need to embody now that are going to serve you on this journey? How do you need to grow inside to help you thrive, to help you get to this end result? And once you do that, really try to embody those lessons. Try to figure out what kind of hesitations you have around those lessons. What kinds of beliefs or doubts do you hold around those hesitations around those lessons? And really start closing the gap on each one of those. And that will close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. So I talked a little bit about working in sales. So when I first got the job offer for this sales role, I knew that I was going to have to make a lot of cold calls. I knew that I was going to have to be able to set my boundaries. I knew that I was going to have to be able to hear the answer no, and that when I get cold calls, I might get hung up on. I might get some people who are not being super nice. And when I started, I wasn't really ready for that, but I knew those were going to be the keys that I needed in order to be successful in this role. So I took each one. I took cold calls. Okay, I have to make cold calls. That is one of the lessons that I need to take. That's one of the things that I need to have in my spiritual bag. The ability to do that, the ability to have the confidence to pick up the phone and call up a stranger and try to get a meeting with them or try to sell something to them. So I took that first one and then I thought, okay, what are my fears around making cold calls? Some of it is getting told no, some of it's getting hung up on, some of it is not knowing what to say, some of it is making a mistake when I say something and saying something incorrectly, some of it is being annoying. And I worked on each one of those beliefs. So being annoying. Well, that's not entirely true. I'm doing business to business, B2B kind of sales, and the people that I'm calling are in procurement. And so it is their job to be getting calls from vendors and responding to them and picking them up and learning more about other vendor services. That's their job. So when I'm calling them, I'm helping them with their job. They may feel like it's annoying, but ultimately they're going to be coming to me after they get to know me a little bit because they need to be evaluating all their vendors and making sure that they're getting the best service and the best prices, etc. And not knowing what to say, well, conversations, you just have a natural conversation and you understand the services of your company. And if you don't understand them, go learn a little bit more about it and have a little note in front of you on your computer when you're making those calls of what points you want to hit. And that way you're not going to miss anything. You're not going to forget anything. So I worked at each one of those beliefs for that. And that was very transformational because yeah, I've made some cold calls. um, in this past year for my work. But like I was saying, I'm really thriving. I'm making sales. And let me tell you, I have not made a single sale from any one of my cold calls. Yet all these customers are coming to me. So that's another thing to keep in mind is when you're closing the gap, when you're taking the spiritual journey, when you are looking at where you are, where you want to be, understanding what lessons you need to learn in order to get to where you want to be, analyzing what fears and doubts you have around those, and then working through them. Keep an open mind of how things are going to come to you. I thought, hey, I'm doing all this work to help me with these cold calls and bring in success that way. And I started getting all of these sales coming in, but none of them were from my cold calls. And at first I was like, no, 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 that's not what I was doing. That's not what I was trying to manifest. I was trying to manifest the cold calls, like success coming from my phone calls. But whenever you're doing this kind of work, yes, the gap is the really important part, but also don't lose sight of what you're trying to get to, which is the castle. It wasn't about me making sales from the cold calls. That wasn't the journey to the end goal. That was the lesson I need to learn to close the gap. That was a growth work that I need to do to face my fears, to create that inner journey of making me become more whole in myself, more confident in myself, feel more worthy in myself. But the end goal was me essentially bringing in sales. That was the end goal. So as you do this work, things may come to you, things will come to you. If you do this work, you will manifest the things that you want. You will manifest the next step, the next path. Things will start to add up for you. But you want to keep an open mind on how that looks because it may look differently. And as long as it's meeting the end outcome and you feel good about it, that's all that matters. So let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know what lessons you feel like you need to embody in order to bridge that gap. Let me know what are some of your fears around those lessons and start logicking out why those fears maybe don't have to be true. Maybe they don't have to be real. And still honoring that they exist and that they're worthy of being there and that you're not a fool for thinking that, but also find ways to logic yourself out of them so that you bridge that gap and you end up at the castle that you're looking for. So thank you so much for watching. I think I mentioned this in a couple of videos, but I will be launching a Wolf Mystery School of sorts in January of 2021. Now, this Wolf Mystery School is going to be a 4-part course, and it's going to be about manifesting your goals. It's going to be about the journey of being where you are and closing that gap to where you want to be. And we're launching it in January because January is the beginning of a new year. We often have these New Year's resolutions, and we have all this energy within us to progress in life, to make this year better than the last. And that's why I really want to harness that kind of energy that we all tend to have at the beginning of the year, starting fresh, starting new habits. And I want to harness that energy and help us really go through this transformational spiritual alchemy, spiritual alchemical process so that we can really harness the energy and actually manifest the goals. And what this Wolf Mystery School is going to take us through is understanding the box and the limitations that we often put on ourselves and breaking through those limitations so that we can allow in the magic, allow in the success that we want. Because whenever we are trying to get results that we haven't gotten before, get unordinary results, we have to use unordinary measures. And that involves using some wolf medicine, some wolf energy, wolf frequencies, and wolf teachings to help us get to that point. Some wolf magic. That's the unordinary. I don't know why that word's feeling strange to me. Is it unordinary? We're going to use that for now. Using unordinary tools to help us achieve unordinary results. And yeah, I feel like there's something else I want to share about that. Yeah, and it's really going to be about breaking through the mental barriers that we have because whenever we're operating with our current mindsets, we have a certain belief system, we have certain filters, we have certain blocks that filter how we see the world, that put a lens in front of us that make us see the world in a certain way. And as a result of that, we only see certain possibilities as available to us, and we limit our dreams. We don't dream as big as we want to. We don't dream as big as we should. We think our lives can only go down a few certain paths, and they can only be a certain level. And so the journey is going to take us through breaking through those kinds of mentalities that we believe in currently that are limiting us from the true possibilities that we can achieve in this lifetime. And then working with that and allowing in those greater possibilities and really seeing the world from a new lens that will allow us to not only see the new possibilities, but actually bring them into our lives. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in that, stay tuned. I'm going to be talking about it more as we get closer to January. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.